Hi everybody, this is Bonnie with Bonnie Bay Crochet, and today I want to show you how to make my honeycomb poncho. And for this design, you can crochet this with the large collar as shown, the cowl size collar, or you can even decide just to make it a small trim if you're just not into big collars. This is an intermediate project, and I'll show you the yarn that I'm using in just a minute, but always feel free to use the yarn that you have available in your area. Well, let me go ahead and show you what you're going to need. Also, if you have any issues while you're in the process of making this design, please feel free to comment below in the comment section, or you can always email me directly, and that information is also in the video description. For this project, I'll be using Paintbox Yarns Simply Aran. And let's look at the back of the label here. This is 100% acrylic. Each of these balls has 3.5 ounces or 100 grams of yarn, which is the same as 201 yards or 184 meters. For the record, I'm using color 214. And if you'd like to get this yarn, you can look in the video description where I'll have a link where it's readily available. And the number of skeins that I'm using will be right across the bottom of the screen for this project. I'm also recommending that you have a crochet hook size I or 9 or 5.50 millimeters. And I'm also recommending that you have a pair of sharp scissors and a yarn needle handy. To begin, we're going to start with a slip knot and a starting chain of 80. Now for row number 1, we're going to start by working a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. And we're going to single crochet in each chain across. This should give you a stitch count of 79 single crochets at the end of row 1. This is what you should have after completing row 1. You should have a total of 79 single crochets. The turning chains are not being counted as stitches in this particular project. Okay, so now we're going to turn, and we're going to begin row 2, which is the foundation row for both of these panels. You're going to be making 2 panels for the ponchos, and they will be made exactly the same. Okay, so we're going to chain 2, and the first thing we're going to do is work a wattle stitch. We're going to start in the first stitch. We work a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet worked into that same stitch. And we're going to do that again. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then we're going to make another one of those single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet worked into that same place. This is going to be a stitch you'll be very familiar with by the end of this project. It's one of my favorites. Now we're going to work the foundation for the honeycomb stitch, and this is the small honeycomb, and we're going to go ahead and start it in the foundation row. We're going to skip 2 stitches here, 1, 2, and that was for the wattle stitch. We're going to double wrap our hook. Now we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, for the honeycomb cable. So let me just look at that again, because there could be confusion over this. We skip 2 stitches as a part of the wattle stitch, 1, 2, and then we skip 2 more, 1, 2, as part of what we're going to do with the honeycomb stitch. And what we're going to do is in the next 2 stitches, we're going to work front post trebles. Even though they are only single crochets, go ahead and work them as post stitches. It's very possible. You just work the hook around the stitch just like you would a taller stitch. All right, so we've done that. We have 2 front post trebles. Now we're going to work behind these 2 stitches, and we're going to front post treble in this stitch and in this stitch. These are the 2 that we skipped. So let's go ahead and do that first stitch, which is actually the 3rd stitch that we skipped. of those 4 stitches, and then we come back behind and we locate this, and we're going to work a front post treble in that next stitch. This will be easier on subsequent rows. Okay, and I am using, just to let you know, the nerve endings in my toe man and my thumbkin here to help me to find where these go. That's the first half of the honeycomb. Now we're going to skip 2 more stitches, and we're going to front post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. And now working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble here and then here. That's in those 2 stitches that we just skipped. That's 1. And then the second stitch. Okay, we're going to pause. Now that's the foundation for that first small honeycomb, and we're going to do this one more time. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, and again working behind those 2 stitches, we come back into this opening and we work front post trebles in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. If you even wanted to just pull this back, that may actually be helpful on this row as well. So after I finish that, you see how these 2 stitches were worked behind these, but yet they're still front post trebles. Okay, then we work the second half to this just the way we did the first one. We skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those last 2 stitches, we front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. So let's stop and take a look. So you should have 2 giant V's. It goes down, then up, down, then up with the way these cables cross. So let me give you some other technical words that I will often use for these. This would be a back cross because we crossed these 2 columns by working behind, and this is a front cross because we crossed these columns by working in front. Back cross and then a front cross. Okay, after that we're going to work 1 wattle stitch. So the next stitch is right here. Do be careful, since we work this as a post stitch, you want to be careful not to accidentally work this stitch and use a stitch twice unless directed to do that. So the next stitch is right here. We work a wattle stitch, which again is a single crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet worked into the same space, and then we skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2 for that wattle stitch. Now we're going to work a foundation for the very large honeycomb cable. In order to do that, we are only going to work front post double crochet. So we're going to work 4 front post double crochets in a row. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pull up some more yarn here. After that, we're going to work a half double crochet worked into the top loops. These are our spacers for the cables that we're going to be doing. And then we work 4 more front post double crochets, again being careful not to use a stitch more than once. Okay, so this is one side of the large honeycomb. And then after that, we're going to work one wattle stitch again, single crochet, chain one, double crochet. So after that wattle stitch and skipping those 2 stitches, we're going to work a 5-stitch cable. And the way we do that is we're going to skip another 2 stitches, 1, 2. We're going to work a half double in that next space. Then we're going to work 2 front post treble crochets, 1 in each of the next 2 stitches. Now working in front of those last 3 stitches, we're going to front post treble in this stitch and in this stitch. Now remember, these 2 are the ones that we skipped for the wattle stitch, so we're actually starting in the 1, 2, the 3rd stitch. I'm taking a lot of time to be very specific just so that I can help you all get this foundation laid carefully, and then once we do, it will be so much easier to understand where we are going with this because the cables will be somewhat already established. Okay, now we're going to make another wattle stitch. So we go to that very next single crochet, work a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet, skip 2, 1, 2, and then now we're going to work the other side of the large honeycomb with 4 front post double crochets, okay, so 4 front post doubles, a half double in the next stitch, and then we're going to work 4 more front post double crochets. We're just building these columns ever so slowly before we start to cross these. Okay, let's go ahead and pause. And this is going to be the large central cable from here all the way to here. It does have a cable in the middle, but anyway. Now we're going to work another wattle stitch, which again, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then we're going to work 2 of the small honeycombs. So we're going to wrap our hook to get it ready for that treble. We're skipping these 2 for the wattle stitch and these 2 more for that small honeycomb. We work 2 front post treble crochets, and then working in the behind, or working in the back here, we're going to front post treble here and then here. Now what you can do is locate them with your thumb, and then you can pull the front part down and easily see those stitches. That is one way to do this. And here's the second. Let me go ahead and show you. You can see the stitch right here. Okay. Skip the next 2 stitches. Front post treble in the next 2 stitches. And this is the easier part, working in front of those 2 stitches. We're going to front post treble here and then here. Okay, now we're going to do that one more time. Skip the next 2 stitches. Going to front post treble in the next 2. Working behind those 2 stitches. we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. That's 1, and then the second one, which is right beside it. Now the stitches that we'll be working in after this row will be taller and I believe a little bit easier. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post, treble in the next 2 stitches, and then working in front of those last 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. Okay, now we're back to working waddle stitches. So we work a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet in that same stitch. Skip 2 stitches, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then we're going to just skip 1 stitch and then single crochet in the last stitch, just like that. So let's go ahead and pause and do a quick visual check, and I highly recommend you do this at the end of every row, especially with the front facing, just so to make sure that you've crossed the cables in the direction you want. So we should have these 2 foundations for the small honeycomb, waddle stitch, 4 front post double, half double, 4 front post double, a waddle stitch. That's the 5 stitch cable, another waddle stitch. We should have 4 front post doubles, half double, 4 front post doubles, waddle stitch, and then 1, 2 honeycombs and 2 waddle stitches. So that's what you should have for row 2. So now it's time to go on to row 3. We're going to turn, chain 2. Now waddle stitches from this point on are only going to be worked in the chain 1 space of the previous waddle stitches. So we're going to be, skipping the double crochets and the single crochets when we're working over these. So let's go ahead and start row 3. Again, chain 2, and then we're going to work a waddle stitch in that first chain 1 space. Again, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then do that again in the next chain 1 space way over here. Single crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. And as you'll see, this is going to create a really nice fabric that kind of recedes to the background. Now as you work over the honeycombs, the small honeycombs, we're just going to work back post double crochets across those stitches. So you should have a total of 16 back post double crochets crocheted over this small honeycomb section, which is actually 2 small honeycombs. Each of these have 8 stitches each. So do make sure as you're crocheting these that each of these 4 stitch clusters that were crossed, make sure that you are also working 4 back post double crochets so nothing gets left out. Okay. And I only have 4 to go. Usually the rows with the backside facing are going to be very similar. Every time you work with the backside facing with the small honeycombs, all you're going to be doing is working back post double crochets over this section. And the same for the other cables, although there are going to be some other nuances that you'll have to pay attention to. For the waddle stitches, again, just 1 waddle stitch, single crochet, again working in that chain 1 space, chain 1, double crochet. Now working across this large honeycomb, or at least one side of it, we're going to work 4 back post double crochets, a half double in the half double, so working in the top loops only, and then we have 4 more back post double crochets after that. 1, 2, 3, 4. We come to another wattle stitch, and again working in that chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, which constitutes a wattle stitch. Now we come to the 5 stitch cable. We're going to work 2 back post double crochets. After those 2 back posts, so in between that last stitch and first stitch, it's right in the middle there of where the cables, where those 2 columns crossed, we work a half double crochet. We'll be doing that more as the other cables are crossed. Back post double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to skip this half double crochet. And don't worry about that. If you are a mathematician worried about the stitch count and how it may change it, it does not affect it, because even though we added this in, we are skipping this stitch, so it all cancels out and the world is fine. Now for the wattle stitch, single crochet, chain 1 double crochet, another wattle stitch in that chain 1 space, and then we get to the other half of the large honeycomb. So we're just going to work 4 back post double crochets, half double worked into the top loops of that half double, and then 4 more back post double crochets. And another wattle stitch, you know what to do. Single crochet, chain 1 double crochet into that chain 1 space right there. What's nice about these chain 1 spaces is that you can feel them very easily. And again, if you haven't already, make sure you're training these nerve endings to show you where to go with your crochet. Okay, so now we've come to the back side of the honeycomb. And again, we're just going to work 16 back post double crochets across this section. So we're almost to the end of our 3rd row. After those 16 back post double crochets worked across this small honeycomb section, we get to those last 2 wattle stitches, and we work wattle stitches in those chain 1s of the previous row's wattle stitches. And that chain 2 that we worked at the beginning of the other row, go ahead and work a single crochet. That would be in row 1. All right, so now, or actually row 2. Go ahead and turn, and let's see what we have after 3 rows. You see these small honeycombs are starting to be a little more defined, and we see the columns for this large honeycomb with the 5 stitch cable in the middle and the other honeycombs. All right, so now we're going to chain 2 for row 4. And again, we have the wattle stitches, so go ahead and work in those 2 wattle stitches, single crochet, chain 1 double crochet, and Now we're going to do something a little different when we get to the honeycomb section. We're actually going to do the opposite. Remember we said this was a back cross and that was a front cross? Well, now we're going to work a front cross over these 4 stitches and a back cross over these 4. So let's go ahead and do that. Skip these 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. After that, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in those next 2 stitches, working behind these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble here and then here. And you're going to see, like I said, this is much easier to do in the larger stitches. You can even pull those other trebles down in front if you need to, so that you can see the other stitches that we're going to work around. Okay, so we've closed up this first honeycomb. After working those 2 behind those 2, completing the back cross, we skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those 2 stitches, we front post treble in front of those 2 stitches that we just skipped. And for the next part of it, skip 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches. As we work behind those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in this stitch and in this stitch. That's 1. 2, just like that. After working over those honeycombs, we're going to work a wattle stitch in that next chain 1 space of the previous row's wattle stitch, and we're just going to continue growing these columns. So we're going to do that by working front post double crochets in each of the post stitches, half double in that half double, and again 4 more front post double crochets, and then we get to the wattle stitch and we work another wattle stitch. Now we get to the 5 stitch cable, and this is what you're going to do every time the front side is facing. Skip the next 2 stitches, half double in that half double, working in the top loops, and then we're going to front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those last 3 stitches, we front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. Half double, let's try that again. We're going to work a wattle stitch in that next wattle stitch. Again, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then 4 more front post double crochets, one in each of the next 4 stitches, half double in that half double crochet, and then 1 front post double in each of the next 4 stitches. We're going to work another wattle stitch. Let's pause a minute. All right, and now we need to finish out with the honeycombs. These are the small honeycombs again. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble, and each of the next 2 stitches, working in front of those last 2 stitches. We're going to work a front post treble crochet in those 2 skip stitches. Okay, so now let me just pause a second. And you may be wondering, well, how do I know whether to work a front cross or a back cross? I would highly recommend you just pay attention and look at the shape that you're crocheting, and you know that the honeycombs are going to be closed up like this. So what do I need to do to close up these honeycombs? So obviously for this one we need to work a front cross here, and this will be a back cross. This will be a front cross. This will be a back cross. After a while, this pattern does become very visual, and you will be somewhat released from, you know, being chained to a video or even to a pattern. Once you understand how these are made, once you complete really the first repeat, I think you will understand. But the video is always here to help you on your way in case that you don't. Just want to let you know that, because I'm not going to be, you know, the video is not going to be 3 hours long so that you have to listen to every row. You will understand once you get down the row to piece. Okay, skip the next 2 stitches. Again, front post treble, and the next 2 stitches. Working in front of those because we're doing a front cross, because we want this to close up in front. Front post treble in those 2 stitches we skipped. And also for the record, I am working a little on the fast side. This is obviously not a beginning project. I'm just assuming that you understand front post trebles and front post doubles and the differences. If not, please check my home page for some more, you know, foundational videos. Also, if you look around the bottom of the screen there should be an icon where you can actually slow down the speed of the video. If you're watching this from a phone, usually an Apple phone or other cell phones, they'll have usually 3 vertical dots or something thereabout where you can go into a menu and change to a slower speed. And that's not just my channel, but it's all the different YouTube channels on this platform. Okay, go ahead and skip the next 2 stitches. Front post treble, those next 2. I'm going to pause and take a look at this with you so we can think through this together. So if I want this to stay on the surface as I'm working this across, going by visual, we know that the next 2 stitches are going to have to be behind these. Okay, so that's how we know we have a back cross coming. We're just going to maintain this honeycomb formation. All right, now we come to the wattle stitches. We just work wattle stitches in those chain 1 spaces. And this is something that your muscle memory will pick up quickly. Single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then the chain 2 space, the turning chain, we work a single crochet in that space. Let's go ahead and pause again and do a quick visual check. So yes, we have 2 honeycombs here, the small honeycombs. We see these columns here, the 5-stitch cable, more columns, and yes, the honeycomb cables have been crossed in a proper way. And we have our wattle stitches. All right, so let's go ahead on to the next row. To go on to row 5, we are going to turn. We're going to chain 2, and again work those wattle stitches in those chain 1 spaces. Let's go ahead and bring more yarn into the picture. And that other wattle stitch. I'm actually going to talk you through this one because it's the same as 2 rows previous. We're going to work back post double crochets over these 16 stitches of the small honeycomb, a wattle stitch in this space here, working over the large cable, 4 back post, half double, 4 back post, and then we work a wattle stitch. I will work that much of it, and then I will show you the center cable. When you get to that central 5-stitch cable, this is with the back side facing, we work 2 back post double crochets, and then remember where the cable was crossed, we work a half double in between that last stitch and the next stitch, and then 2 more back post double crochets. I just wanted to give you another shot at that so that there is understanding, and we do skip that half double, and then we go right into the wattle stitch. Let me go ahead and explain the rest of the row. 4 back post double crochets, half double, 4 back post double crochets. We work a wattle stitch in the chain 1 space here of the wattle stitch, and then we work 16 back post double crochets over the small honeycomb section, a wattle stitch, and a single crochet in the chain 2 space at the end of the row. So go ahead and finish that. So this is what you should have after completing 5 rows. This would be the big center honeycomb, and these are the small. All right, so now it's going to be time for row 6, and we're actually going to cross these large columns. But let's go ahead and work over the wattle stitches. Again, chain 2, work over those 2 wattle stitches, and you're going to find that, a lot of these stitches are very, redundant and repetitive, and because of that, I'm hoping that they will be easy to learn. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at this before we venture on. So we're going to, again, duplicate what we did here. The small honeycomb is actually a 4-row repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you look in your instructions, it's going to say for this section to work row 1 of the honeycomb, which is actually row 2 of the project, but because this is a 4-row repeat, you're going to do row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So for row 6, it's going to be time for us to repeat this part again. So what we're going to do when we cross these cables is we're going to work the back cross here and a front cross here. So this is going to come out here and here, and again a back cross and then a front cross, and we'll do that the same way on the other side of this. So I'm just going to work the right side for this demonstration. Skip 2, front post treble in the next 2, working behind these 2 stitches. We're going to front post treble and the 2 stitches we skipped. And again, I'm depending heavily on what you can't see in this video, and that is the nerve endings in my finger and in my thumb. And it's much more of a help than you can actually see in a video. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those 2 stitches, we front post treble and these 2 stitches that we skipped. And I'll pause after we do this. Okay, a stop, and you see how this goes. Kind of went out and then back in, and it's going out again. Now we're going to do another one over here. Skip 2. This is also going to be a back cross, front post treble. And those next 2 stitches. Now a back cross means just that, working in back of those last 2 stitches. Front post treble. And then after we do that, it's time for a front cross over here. Skip 2, front post treble in the next 2 stitches. And again, working in front of those last 2 stitches, we front post treble in those 2 stitches that we just skipped. Okay, after that we do a wattle stitch. Let's do that wattle stitch, and then I'm going to pause so you can see what we just completed. Okay, so we just completed, again, the large V, just like we did down here. We're doing it again here. Down, and up. But look what happens. It also creates a honeycomb in the center, which I think is just really, really cool. A really nice geometric kind of stitching. All right, so that's what you're going to do on the other side as this row ends as well. Now we are going to cross these large cables or the large columns, and we are going to make front and back crosses on these as well, although it's going to have an additional step, just like I showed you already in the 5-stitch cable. This is a technique that I've developed, and it's going to be a little bit different with this very large cable because we have a lot more stitches involved. So we're going to make this first section is going to be a back cross, where we work these stitches first and then work behind by working front post trebles here. But when we work this half double, we're actually going to work a double crochet just to give us a little bit of a larger stitch. So working a double crochet in top of that half double, it just gives us a little more room. Now we're going to front post treble in these 4. Let me back up. First of all, we skipped these 4 stitches and then work that double crochet, and then we're going to work front post trebles, not doubles anymore, front post trebles in those next 4 stitches. Whenever we're crossing cables in this project, we are going to use front post trebles. All the other times we're going to be using front post or back post double crochets. Now that I finished those 4 front post treble crochets, we're going to work behind these 4 post stitches and the double crochet. So we're actually working behind 5 stitches. We're going to come into this opening behind here, and we're going to work front post trebles here, 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 and here, starting with the one that's furthest away. And you can even stick your thumb up there into that opening to help you direct your crochet hook. And here's another one, the 3rd stitch coming in, and I'm going to be working this stitch right here, again guiding my hook with my thumb and finger, and then the 4th, which is going to be right here. All right, now we're going to work a wattle stitch in the next stitch, that chain 1 space. Let's take a look at our crossed cable. So you see how that looks. Now this is going to look better, obviously, as we go forward. Now we're going to work the 5-stitch cable, and we do this the same way we did 2 rows ago and 4 rows ago. Skip 2 stitches, half double in that half double, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those last 3 stitches, we front post treble those stitches that we skipped. We're going to work a wattle stitch in that next stitch, that chain one space. And then that brings us to this big column. We're going to cross this with a front cross, which means we're going to work this double crochet, 4 front post trebles, and then we're going to work in front of those and work front post trebles here. So skip 4 stitches, and that half double, we're working a double crochet just for when we cross these large cables. Other times will be a half double. Front post treble in the next 4 stitches. Now we're going to work in front of those 5 stitches that we just worked, the 4 front post trebles and that double crochet, and we're going to come all the way over here. It feels like you're reaching across the room, and we start with the one furthest away, and we work those 4 front post treble crochets. That's 2, and the third one, and 4. We're going to work a wattle stitch in that next wattle stitch. And I'm going to just talk you through this because we've already worked it on the other side. We're going to work a back cross just like this here. Then we're going to work a front cross, which is like this here. Back cross, work it right up here, and the front cross, we're going to work that right up here. Wattle stitch, and a single crochet in the turning chain. So go ahead and finish out that row. Now for row 7, I've gone ahead and worked a chain 2, wattle stitch in each of those wattle stitches at the beginning. I've worked the 16 back post double crochets across the small honeycomb and a wattle stitch. I wanted to show you what it looks like working the back post double crochets after the large honeycomb cables have been crossed. So we're just going to work 4 back post double crochets. That's 2, 3, and 4. After that, you're going to work a half double crochet between the last stitch and the next stitch, right where those 2 columns were crossed. There's a quite an opening there, so just put a half double right in between those, and then 4 more back post double crochets. Okay, very similar to the 5-stitch cable, but of course a lot more stitches, and just like with the 5-stitch cable, we're going to skip this double crochet, and then we go right for that wattle stitch by working a wattle stitch in that chain 1 space. All right, after that we're going to do it again. Actually, that's not true. We're going to work the 5-stitch cable, and we've done that a couple times, but I'll do it again. Back post double crochets in those next 2 stitches, a half double worked in between that last stitch and the next stitch. That's the center of the cable, and then 2 more back post double crochets, a wattle stitch in that wattle stitch again. After that wattle stitch, we get to the second side, or the other side of the large honeycomb. We're going to work back post double crochets in those 4 stitches. That's 2, 3, and 4. And in between that last stitch and next stitch, that's where the two columns were crossed. You can stick your finger in there quite easily. Work a half double crochet in between that last stitch and next stitch, is the center of where they crossed, and then 4 more back post double crochets. These are on the back side. And 3 and 4. And then we work the wattle stitch again. Okay, to finish out the row, we're going to work 16 of those back post double crochets, wattle stitch, and a wattle stitch. So go ahead and finish that row. Now I'm going to explain the next 2 rows for you. For row 8, we're going to chain 2, work those 2 wattle stitches, and over these 4 stitches we're going to work the front cross, and over here we're going to work a back cross, a front cross, and a back cross, and then a wattle stitch. And over these columns we're going to just work front post double crochet, so you have 4 front post doubles, a half double in the half double, 4 front post double crochets, a wattle stitch. Again, we're going to cross the 5-stitch cable the same way we did 3 previous times. And just a little review: skip 2 stitches, half double in the half double, front post treble here and here, then working in front of those 3 stitches, front post treble here and here, wattle stitch, and again front post doubles in those 4 stitches, half double, 4 front post doubles, wattle stitch. And then again we're going to work a front cross, a back cross, a front cross, and a back cross here, wattle stitch, and single crochet in that last, or in the turning chain. And again, after you complete that, do a quick visual to make sure that everything looks right. The tops should be of these little honeycombs should be closed. These columns are just going to be elongating for a while. Okay, that's row 8. For row 9, we'll have the back side facing, just like we did on row 7. We're going to work 2 wattle stitches, 16 back post double crochets across those small honeycombs, wattle stitch in the chain 1 wattle stitch space, across the big cable, 4 back post doubles, half double, 4 back post doubles, wattle stitch, again 2 back post doubles, half double in between the last stitch and next stitch, 2 back post doubles. This is again the 5 stitch cable. Then we work a wattle stitch, and again 4 back post, half double, 4 back post, wattle stitch, 16 back post doubles, wattle stitch, and wattle stitch. I hope that didn't go too fast for you. I just don't want to bore you too much, because I know some of you are going to be ready to zoom on a lot of these stitches. So go ahead and complete rows 8 and 9. This is what you should have after completing 9 rows. Most of our cables are very defined at this point. Okay, now for rows 10 and 11, I'm going to just give instructions because it's very straightforward. Again, chain 2, 2 wattle stitches. Each row will begin and end in the same way. For the honeycomb, it's time for us to bring it out again, just like we did down here. So this is going to be a back cross, and then a front cross, a back cross, and then a front cross, the wattle stitch, and then we're going to work just like we did the last 2 rows, front post double crochets into 4 stitches, half double, 4 front post double crochets, a wattle stitch. Again, we're going to cross that 5-stitch cable the same way we've been doing it, starting by skipping 2, half double in the half double, 2 front post trebles, and then working in front of those 3 stitches, 2 front post trebles, wattle stitch, and then again, just like we've done already, front post double crochets into 4 stitches, half double, front post, wattle stitch, And then again, we're going to work just like we did here. We're going to work a back cross and then a front cross here, back cross, and then a front cross, so that you're just going to maintain this this pattern that we're working. Waddle stitch, and a single crochet in the chain 1 turning chain, or the chain 2 turning chain. And then with the back side facing for row 11, you'll have a chain 2, 2 waddle stitches, 16 back post double crochets across the small honeycomb, a waddle stitch, and then working with the back side of that cable, 4 back post double crochets, half double, 4 back post double crochets, a waddle stitch, and then 2 back post, a half double in between the last stitch and next stitch, and 2 back post double crochets, a waddle stitch, and then again 4 back post here across. This is the large cable, half double, 4 back post across here, waddle stitch, and then 16 back post double crochets across the small honeycomb, and 2 waddle stitches, and a single crochet in the chain 1 space. So go ahead and work rows 10 with the front side facing, and then row 11 with the back side facing. This is what you should have after completing 11 rows. And again, just be sure that you're taking the time after completing the rows with the front side facing to make sure that these cables are crossed according to the way they should be. It's very easy to make a mistake. And why am I saying this? Have I ever done this before? Oh, more times than I can count. So do be sure. I'm just trying to save you some time on ripping out and redoing. Okay, now for rows 12 and 13, they're going to be very similar. So for row number 12, again, continuing with the chain 2 and the 2 waddle stitches. And as we close up these honeycombs, make sure we work a front cross, then a back cross, a front cross, and a back cross. And if you forget what that looks like, just look at the shape, and you know you're going to close these tops up here and on the other side. For the very large honeycomb, we're just going to continue to elongate these with front post double crochets with the front side facing, and for the following row, back post double crochets. And again, waddle stitches where the waddle stitches go. And again, we're going to cross that 5 stitch cable. And when we work row 13 with the back side facing, we're just going to work waddle stitches where the waddle stitches go, 16 back post double crochets across the honeycomb section. And again, back post double crochets across the large cable, and the same with the 5 post 5 stitch cable. Make sure you don't forget that half double crochet that goes in between where the cables cross on that stitch. So go ahead and work rows 12 and 13. This is what you should have after completing 13 rows. Now for rows 14 and 15, again, the waddle stitches, chain 2 at the beginning, and we're going to continue with the honeycombs. Again, we're going to go out with a back cross, then a front cross, back cross, front cross on the small honeycomb, waddle stitches in the waddle stitches. Again, front post double crochets with the front side facing on these large cables, and the row coming after, which would be row 15, we're going to do back post double crochets. Again, the 5 stitch cable made the same way. Make sure you make the half double in the middle first, and again work the honeycombs again with a back cross, front cross, back cross, front cross, waddle stitches, and then a single crochet at the end of the row. And with the back side facing, again, just like we did on this last row with the waddle stitches, 16 back post double crochets, waddle stitch, and again, just back post double crochets over those large cables. Don't forget the half doubles in between. And don't forget the center of the 5 stitch cable. Don't forget that half double crochet in the middle. So go ahead and work the next 2 rows, which is rows 14 and 15. This is what you should have after completing 15 rows. Now going forward, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the honeycomb or the wattle stitches since they're pretty straightforward. You know to just continue in this 4-row pattern as you go along. And I'm going to focus more on the central large honeycomb here. Now for row 16, it's going to be time to cross these cables, and I will cross these with you. So first, go ahead and start by working the chain 2, 2 wattle stitches, and again, this is going to be a front cross, a back cross, front cross, back cross, and then do the wattle stitch, and then I will show you the crossing of these cables again. So now that we've gotten to the point where we are going to cross the cables, we're going to cross this cable on top. So this is going to be a front cross on this side, and this is going to be a back cross. So we're going to kind of bring this in as such. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. We're going to skip the first 4 stitches. Now remember, when we're crossing these very large cables, we're going to use a double crochet where that half double is. It just gives us a little more room to work. Front post treble crochet in the next 4 stitches. Okay, that one almost got away from me. After that, working in front of those last 5 stitches, we're going to come all the way over here and work front post treble crochets in the 4 stitches that we skipped. After that, we get to the wattle stitch and work that, and that's chain 1 space, and then we cross the 5 stitch cable, skip 2, half double in that half double, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those 3 stitches, we front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. Wattle stitch in that next wattle stitch. Now we get ready to work a back cross over these 2 columns. I'm going to skip those 4 stitches, work a double crochet in that half double, front post treble in the next 4 stitches, working behind these last 5 stitches. We're going to come in from behind and work front post trebles in each of those 4 stitches that we skipped, and you can pull this down if you need to see those stitches, although I think it's easier to use your thumb and finger to help use those nerve endings to find where these stitches are. I really think that's the better way to find these stitches. That's 3, and the last one, 4. And then wattle stitch in the next wattle stitch. Okay, now let's talk about the rest. So this is what we have. You can see that nice large honeycomb forming. We're going to continue on in pattern stitch with these honeycombs again, with a front cross, a back cross, front cross, back cross, wattle stitch here, here, and a single crochet in the turning chain. Okay, and for the row that follows, this will be row 17. Again, just back post double crochets over those honeycombs. Of course, you know the wattle stitches but there are 16 of those back post wattle stitch. When you work over the back post of these cables, we're going to work 4 back posts, half double in between where those cables cross, and then 4 more back here, 4 more back post double crochets, wattle stitch, working over the back side of that 5 post or 5 stitch cable. Don't forget the half double in between, wattle stitch, and then again 4 back post, half double in between where those cables cross, and then 4 more back post. And then we finish out the row with a wattle stitch, 16 back post double crochets, 2 wattle stitches, and a single crochet in the turning chain. So go ahead and finish rows 16 and 17. This is what you should have after 17 rows. Now for rows 18 and 19, they're going to be very similar to what we've already done. We're going to bring this honeycomb out again. So this is going to be a back cross, front cross, back cross, front cross up here. Wattle stitches into wattle stitches, front post double crochets over these stitches. Don't forget the half double in the middle. Wattle stitches, 5 stitch cable. You know what to do with that at this point. Front post double crochets again, wattle stitch in that center stitch, and again with the honeycombs over here. This is going to be a back cross, front cross, back cross, front cross, wattle stitches, and then don't forget the single crochet in the chain 2 space. So go ahead and work row 18 and row 19. Again, it's just what we've been doing all along. Work those back post double crochets across the honeycombs. There's 16 of them. Don't forget the wattle stitches where they appear, and again 4 back post, half double, 4 back post, wattle stitch, etc. And don't forget the half double crochet in the center of the 5 stitch cable. That's the one thing that we need to be careful of. So go ahead and work rows 18 and 19. This is what you should have after completing 19 rows. Now for rows 20 and 21, we are just going to continue in pattern stitch. And again, this is going to be closing up here with a front cross, back cross, front cross, back cross. Same for the other side. Wattle stitches go in the wattle stitches. And for this large honeycomb cable, we're going to work just front post double crochets. When the front side is facing, of course, the half doubles go where the half doubles go. This 5 stitch cable just continues to cross in the normal fashion. Don't forget the wattle stitches. And when we turn for row 21, back post double crochets over the post stitches, 16 here. You know the wattle stitches, and again back post double crochets over that large central cable. And just as a reminder again, don't forget the half double in between when you work the back side facing with that 5 stitch cable. So go ahead and work rows 20 and 21. This is what you should have after completing 21 rows. Now we've come to the point where we are going to repeat. We have a 16 row repeat, and it starts down here at row 6. This is where the crossing of the cables begins to start to form the large honeycomb portion, and it continues on through row 21. Now for row 22, we are going to cross this cable outward again. This is going to be a back cross, and this will be a front cross for row 22. So, but what I'm going to have you do, if you need additional stitch support and you want to continue working with me, what you can do is look across the bottom of the screen, and I'll put a time mark where row 6, this is where the first crossing of the cable occurs on the large cables, row 6 begins, and you can go back to that time mark in the video and re-watch this. Everything will be the same. So what I'm going to have you do is repeat this Look across the bottom of the screen again. I'll tell you the number of repeats and how many rows will be in this panel. So go ahead and work that, and I will show you once I get the panel completed, and then we will go over the perimeter round. Okay, after repeating rows 6 through 21 4 additional times, and then repeating row 20 once more, which is the row with just the front post double crochets, let's take a look at what we have here. I know this is kind of a close-up version. I'll go ahead and put an image of the panel right here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to continue working. We worked the last row with the front side facing, and now we are going to turn 90 degrees, and we're going to work across the row ends of this panel. And we're going to do this very carefully, and we need to be very careful that our count is correct as we go. We're going to chain 1. I'm going to work a single crochet in that first row end. Now for the next row end, this is the chain 2. I'm going to work 2 single crochets there, and then 1 single crochet in that next row end, and I'm going to work this across 2 single crochets in that next row end, 1 in the next, 2 in the next one, and then 1 in the next. So 2 and 1, 2 and 1, and it should look like this. So go ahead and work this until you get to the next corner. After working this all the way across with the 2, 1, then 2, 1, then 2, you're going to end with a single crochet, and then in the very next, which is the very first row that we worked, we're just going to work 1 there. So after working that last stitch in that last row, we're going to chain 2. We're going to turn 90 degrees. Now we're going to be working across the foundation chain. Okay, so we're going to work a single crochet in that first stitch. Okay, so we have our corner right here. Now we're going to work 4 stitches across 6 stitches. Okay, it just has a lot to do with the way the stitch count works out. So I'm going to go ahead and work this one with you. We're going to work that first, which is the corner, and then we're going to work the next one. We're going to skip that next row end, single crochet in the next 2. All right, and then we're going to skip the next row end. Okay, now we're working across the honeycomb section. Let me make sure I'm only skipping 1. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and work across this section until we get to the next place where there is a wattle stitch. So I'm just going to go ahead and work in all of these foundation chains until the next wattle stitch. And so now for the wattle stitch portion, we're just opposite down here. So I'm going to work that 1 single crochet, skip the next single crochet, and then work in that next stitch. Okay, and then we just continue. We're going to work across the next stitches until we get to where the half double crochet is, because we're going to skip that stitch as well. So do be sure where you are working. Okay, so this is the stitch opposite that half double, so we're going to skip that stitch, and then we're going to continue working until we get to the wattle stitches again. Again, we're just skipping a stitch here and there very deliberately, just so that this side will fit carefully with the other panel. I promise you there's a method behind the madness here. Okay, so let's go ahead and crochet in this one. And so let's we're going to skip the next one and single crochet in the next row end, and then this is the 5 post stitch. So we're going to crochet, or the 5 stitch cable rather, stitch these 2, and I'm going to skip that middle half double foundation chain, and then single crochet in the next 2, and then we do have another wattle stitch coming up. So all you really need to do when you come to the wattle stitch is just make sure you skip one stitch. It really doesn't matter whether it's this one or this one, but we're going to skip a stitch. We're mainly trying to reduce the stitch count as we go across, and we will do the same on the other end. Okay, and then we're going to work across. Okay, and then we come to another half double. We're going to skip that stitch, or the foundation stitch opposite that stitch. So basically what we are doing is we're reducing the stitch count on over the wattle stitches from 3 down to 2, and we are going to be skipping the stitch opposite of any of the half double crochets that were used as spacers. Okay, so let's see where we are here. We're coming to another wattle stitch, so I'm going to skip this stitch and then continue working. And so I'll go ahead and work in each stitch over the honeycomb section until I get to the wattle stitches on the end. And so now working over the last 2 of the wattle stitches, I'm going to work in the next stitch, skip a stitch, work another one, work another stitch, and then I'm going to skip the next one, and then I'm going to work in that very last stitch across, which is actually the very first chain we worked to begin this project. So after working that last stitch across, we're going to turn 90 degrees. We're going to chain 2, and we need to find where the first row begins, which is way over here. So we're going to put that first stitch in that first row end, just like that. So after that first stitch along the row ends, we're going to find the next row end, which is right here, and we're going to work 1 stitch there. So in the next row end, this is where we would start 2, then 1, 2, then 1. But let's go ahead and I'm just going to work 1 there, and then I'm going to work 2 in the next space because that's where the chain 2 is. So we're just going to work 1 in the next row end, and then 2 in the next row end. You're going to end up with the same number of stitches. It's just the, you know, what I'm opting to do here. Okay, so 1 in the next row end, and then 2 single crochets in the next row end. So go ahead and work that all the way to the corner. This row ends by working 1 single crochet in that last row end, and then work 1 more in that chain at the top. So we're going to turn, chain 2, and go ahead and work 1 single crochet. We're going to work this in the single crochet of the wattle stitch, and then we're going to work 1 single crochet in the chain 1 space. We're going to skip the double crochet, 1 single crochet in the single crochet of the wattle stitch, and then 1 in the chain 1 space, and that's all you're going to work over the wattle stitches. Working in the tops of these other stitches, 1 stitch in each stitch. This is over the small honeycomb, so go ahead and work single crochets over those honeycombs, and I'll just explain the rest of this to you. Single crochet in the single crochet of the wattle stitch, and 1 in the chain 1 space. Always skip the double crochets with those. And when you work across the stitches with the half doubles, we're just going to skip the half doubles entirely. So we're going to work 4 single crochets here, skip this stitch, 4 single crochets, and again just 2 stitches with this wattle stitch. And when you get to anything with a half double, now when you work across this stitch, we're just going to work, this is the 5 stitch cable, we're just going to work 4 stitches there. Make sure that you do not work anything in that half double crochet. So go ahead and work across, and then at the end we're going to join. We're going to work a chain 2 and join with a slip stitch to the very first single crochet of the round, and then fasten off. After that, go ahead and make a second panel, and then I will show you how to put these together. All right, so now we have 2 panels completed, and each of these panels measures approximately 19 by 37 inches. Okay, so now what I'm going to show you here is how to connect these. Now this is the front side facing and this is the back side, and you get to see all my beautiful strands. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this like so with the back side facing, and then I'm going to grab this other panel. It doesn't matter which end you connect up with which, because they are both the same. Okay, and then over here I'm going to place this panel here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the chain two corners on this end, and I'm going to slip stitch across until I get to this side. And so let me go ahead and put these together for you. So what I'm doing now is I am lining these up, just the two panels, and I'm using these little knit clip things. You don't need to have these, but these are very handy when you're just clipping these together, just kind of so that you know about how they're going to go together. Now obviously this is not being aligned stitch by stitch. You will do that as you work the slip stitch across. Now for this other side here, we're going to fold it under like this, okay, and then I'm going to flip the whole thing over, and then you have this on the other side. And once again, I'm going to get some of these clips. I'll put a link in the video description should you be interested in these, but whenever you have to connect any crochet, I just find these things to be fantastic. So go ahead and connect these ends up. Just like this. Now there's also going to be a diagram on how this all goes together in the written pattern, should you be interested in getting that. And I will have the written pattern available both in my online Etsy and in my Lovecrafts store. And again, if you are a watch subscriber, watch.bonniebacrochet.com, your pattern will be complimentary for being one of my watch subscribers. It's a paid subscriber channel. And I do highly recommend it if you like a lot of what I do, because it'll save you a lot of money and you can watch the videos ad and spam free, and nobody's going to track your whatever you do online. And I do try to just really minimize any kind of sales pitchy stuff with that, because I just know how much I'm not crazy about that, and so I try to streamline it. If I do put affiliate links, it's only because something like this, like with the knit picks or whatever, something that I think is just a really good tool. All right, so this is what we have, and again, I'm going to start where the chain two corners are. I'm going to slip stitch across both sides, okay, and I'll go ahead and show you how to do that up close in the other room with the softbox. But then after that, we are going to work on the neckline with the trim there, and we'll also work on the trim that goes around the bottom of the poncho. So now let's go ahead and slip stitch this together. So you see the side that I had connected, and I'm just going to insert my hook into both of those chain one spaces. Let's make a slip knot, and we're going to just make a chain for these together. And then looking at the next stitch, I'm working through both loops. Let me go ahead and get my glasses here so I can see more clearly. There we go. Into those next two stitches and work a slip stitch. Now you're going to want to keep the yarn at a normal tension. You're not going to want to pull this really, really tight. Okay, and of course you don't want it to be sloppy loose either, but just keep a normal tension so that your stitches look normal, a normal size. So put it under both of those two loops of both panels, slip stitch. It's just as simple as that. And again, make sure that you have the back side of both panels facing, because you don't want this seam to show. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and slip this all the way across until I get to the other chain 2 space on the shorter panel. Okay, I wanted to show you the last 2 stitches as I connect these first 2 panels. Okay, we're going to slip stitch. That's the last stitch, and then make one in the chain 2 corner as well, connecting it to that next stitch. I'm going to give it a chain, a tug, and actually I'm going to give it a second chain just for insurance. This is all going to be hidden well inside the work, and I have provided a generous strand. As you cut your strands to fasten off, make sure you leave between 4 and 6 inches at least. You want to leave enough so that you can thread it into your yarn needle for hiding later. If you have just a tiny little thing there, it will pull out. And this way you have a nice long strand. You can work it through the stitches, preventing it from ever coming to see the light of day. So now go ahead and finish the other seam in a similar manner, and then I'll show you how to work the neckline. I have turned my poncho with the right side facing, and the seam is on the inside. Make sure that you do that before the next step, because you're going to want to have the front side facing for all of these coming rounds for the neckline. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my yarn, and I want you to join any of the corners. There are 2 corners. There's one here and there's one here, the V part of the poncho. So now we're ready to join our yarn to the collar portion, and we're going to work rounds for a ribbed collar. So I want you to find this chain 2 space, and then we're going to back up 2 stitches, 1, 2, and I'm going to join with a slip stitch to that space, and I'm going to chain 2. And just to be clear, this does not count as a double crochet. We're going to work a double crochet in that stitch. So now in the next 4 stitches, that's 1, which is a single crochet, 2, which is a chain 2 space, 3, which is a single crochet, and 4. These 4 stitches, we're going to work a double crochet 4 stitches together, and this is how I'm going to have you do this. We're going to wrap the hook, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Do that again. Wrap, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And again, wrap, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then wrap, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So you should have a total of 5 stitches, or loops rather, on that hook, yarn over, and pull through all 5. And this is going to help mediate that dip in that V notch and just help the edging to be a little more even, because as you come around for the next round, I will show you this. You're only going to be working in one of these stitches, so I'll show that when we get to that point. Otherwise, we're going to just work double crochets in each stitch until you come 2 stitches before the next V. All right, so go ahead and work till you get to that next V, and I'll work that one with you again. Okay, so now we have stopped just 1 stitch before the chain 2. Let me give you a stitch count before we go forward. If you count all of the double crochets and the double crochet 4 together as 1 stitch and the 1 double crochet before that, you should have approximately 52 stitches. Now, if you're off by 1 or 2 stitches, it's not a deal breaker. Please don't rip everything out and worry about it. It's more important that this just looks even. The most important part is going to be working the 4 double crochets together. But all in all, you should have a total of 103 stitches once you complete this first round. Again, that's counting the double crochet 4 together as 1 stitch. And let's go ahead and do that one again. We wrap, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to do that 3 more times in that chain 2 space, and then in the next single crochet space, which is where that join was, and then go one more beyond that. So you should have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on that hook, yarn over and pull through all 5. And then we're just going to continue on with the double crochets in each stitch around the rest of the neck, and then I'll go ahead and show you the join and how you're to work the rest of these rounds. After working those double crochets all the way across, we're going to join with a slip stitch, not in the chain 2. Remember, we said that doesn't count as a stitch, but in the top of that first double crochet slip stitch, I'm going to chain 2 again, and we're going to work a front post double crochet. So let me show you how to work that back post around this next stitch. We're going to come in under that first part of the stitch, and the stitch ends over here, so we're going to go back out there. Make sure you don't grab any other extra strands, and there you go. So that 4 stitch area, which was that strong V, has now been mediated, has kind of by working those 4 stitches together. Okay, the rest of it is going to be just simply front post double crochet in the next stitch, back post double crochet in the next, and we're just going to work that all the way around. And remember, when you get to that next 4 double crochets together, just work under at the top here, and that will work it in just fine. After working those front and back post double crochets all the way around, we're going to just join with a slip stitch to the top of that first double crochet, and we're going to go ahead and work another round. Go ahead and chain 2 and look across the bottom of the screen, and I'll tell you how many more rounds to work in just this manner. And again, just working front post double crochets, back post double crochets. Honestly, you can work as many or as few of these rounds if you would like. If you just want a simple trim, you could probably end after this round, or perhaps after 2 more rounds. If you want to go ahead and make a full-fledged collar that folds down, just keep going until you reach the number of rounds that where you like the look. Okay, so go ahead and finish up the collar. I'll show you what I have once I finish this. After crocheting around 18 rounds, I'm going to join with a slip stitch. I'm going to give it a chain and a tug. After finding my scissors, I'm going to clip a generous strand so that it will be easy to hide into the work at the end. So I'm trying to get this all into the box here. This is a little tricky to see, but this is what the collar looks like before it's folded over. It looks very large, but then when you fold it down, you're going to have this beautiful cowl style collar. I'll put a picture right in here of this as it's on the mannequin. Okay, so now it's time for us to work on the bottom. For the bottom ribbing, join anywhere along the bottom edge of the poncho except at the corners, and chain 2 after you've joined, and work double crochets in each stitch until you get to the corner. Okay, after working double crochets until the chain 2 corner, when I've come to the chain 2 corner, I'm going to work 12 double crochets into that one space. And the reason we're doing this is because we're not going to be adding any more increases on the rounds that follow. So after working those 12 double crochets, there is one you're going to have to pull back on the stitches a little bit to get to. But go ahead and do that, and then work those double crochets all the way around until you get to the next corner, and then work 12 double crochets into that corner and continue going. Now when you are working these, when you come to a join, let's go ahead and take a look. Let's take a look at a join. right here, you're just going to crochet evenly. So you will crochet one in the chain 2 corner here, and then another one in the chain 2 corner, and then just keep working 1 double crochet in each single crochet all the way around. These are going to be long rounds. So sit back and get comfortable and just work that. And after we complete that, the other rounds are going to be working front and back post double crochets, and I'll show you how to do that. After working this all the way around, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that first double crochet of the round. Now we just continue with the front side facing upward, and we're just going to work 4 more rounds with the chain 2. We're going to work a front post double crochet in the first stitch, followed by a back post double crochet, and we're going to work this all the way around. And when you get to the corner, we're going to do the same way, just front post, back post, front post, back post. We're not adding anything new here. So go ahead and continue this around for rounds 2 through 5, which is the next 4 rounds. And when you get to the end of each round, you join with a slip stitch to the top of the stitch. Now, as you work the rounds that follow, make sure you work front post over front post and back post over back post, okay, so that they form this beautiful ribbing. At the end of the 5th round, I've joined with a slip stitch. I have trimmed my yarn. I'm going to pull it through and give it a tug. So now all I need to do is hide all those loose strands, but I wanted to give you a look at the corner, and this is why you put all those stitches in that one chain 2 corner, so that as you come around, this will just have a beautiful fan to it, and you don't have to try adding stitches, which would be really hard because it would disrupt the ribbing to do that. So this is what it looks like when you finish the trim, or the ribbing part of the project. Well, I hope you enjoyed making my honeycomb poncho today. If you did, I would love to hear from you. Please feel free to comment in the comment section below. God bless. Bye-bye.